have kind of our formal introduction, which I guess we will. Yeah, why not? So I don't know that we need to introduce ourselves because I think we know everyone in the room. But we want to thank you for joining the Tamarack and members of the NVCC community today for this commemoration ceremony. In 1982, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum established the National Days of Remembrance. It's a week-long event to honor the Holocaust dead and to educate in hopes of preventing such catastrophic loss from recurring.
According to the museum website, shortly after World War II, philosopher Theodor Adorno asserted that to write poetry after Auschwitz is barbaric. This statement reflects the initial response of many readers considering poetry and fiction about the Holocaust, namely that any attempt to capture life in the ghettos and concentration camps on the page diminishes the horror faced by those who lived and died at the hands of the Nazis. Yet many survivors and their descendants use poetry to effectively distill the terror and dread of the Holocaust into words. For some, the emotional and personal nature of the form makes poetry the ideal medium in which to express ideas and sentiments that otherwise could not be adequately rendered. In short, poetry allows these writers to express the inexpressible.
Early poets of the Holocaust wrestled with a variety of interrelated subjects based on their experiences, including profound loss and the nature of victimhood. These issues manifested themselves in poems of stark power and beauty. Later poets have explored themes of memory and Jewish identity in a world after Auschwitz. Pavel Friedman was one poet of the Holocaust. Though he perished at Auschwitz, Friedman's poem, The Butterfly, gained recognition after his death. The butterfly. The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone. Such a yellow is carried lightly, way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found what I love here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut branches in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
Friedman's startling juxtaposition of beauty and brutality reminds us of the fragility of human life, but also of our inherent strength, our ability to find beauty in the grip of evil.
The speaker in Friedman's poem reminds us of the voiceless millions murdered by the Nazis, the majority of whom go nameless. This is a compound tragedy of the campaign of systematic murder. Victims were stripped not only of their lives, but of their very identities. Because most of the murdered were disposed of anonymously through cremation or mass burial, even in death they are, in a sense, robbed of their dignity, their right to be memorialized. The goal of our ceremony is to do just that, to honor, to memorialize, to remember the nameless victims, who in fact did have names. So as we acknowledge the 71st anniversary of the liberation of the concentration camps, where so many were murdered, we ask you to join us in naming a tiny portion of those lost. And we would like to invite you to take part in the names reading. Chelsea and I are going to start us off. We've arranged the list of names in groups of 20, and you can kind of see there are the 20 names, and then there's a little separator. If you would like to come up and read names, you can read as many as you would like to. You could read more than 20, you can read up to 20. I've brought a Sharpie so you can kind of mark off where you left off in the list. I'll let you know some of the names will be difficult to pronounce, and I think that's okay. The purpose is in speaking them aloud to remember these individuals. So
This list contains the names of 5,000 Jewish and non-Jewish individuals who were murdered by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1939 and 1945. Each name is followed by the victim's country of origin or place of death. Unfortunately, there is no single list of those known to have perished during the Holocaust. The list provided here is a very small sample of names taken from archival documents at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
And our list is significantly smaller than those 5,000 names. So I'll start us off. Dr. Lisa Dresner very givingly contributed some names to the list. She shared names of her great uncles and their families, and we respectfully add those to our list. Walter Dresner, his wife Rose, and son Klaus, who were killed in Sobibor, and Felix Dresner, his wife Johanna, and children Jutta and Burl, killed in Auschwitz. And then the list continues. Abraham Bunim Eisen, from Poland. Kamak Fieldstein, perished at Natzweiler. Frieda Deutsch, from Slovakia. Pierre Niveau, perished at Neuengamme. Yakov Borzykowski, from Poland. Mikhail Hoffman, from Poland. Nathan Gabor, from Romania.
Paul Rachel, perished at Neuengamme. Rosia Weiner, from Poland. Katharina Gans, from the Netherlands. Moish Honig, from Poland. Antoni Kuzmierski, perished at Natzweiler. Clara Josephich, perished at Bergen-Belsen. René Jacques Thomas, from France. Hugo Glacier, perished at Dachau. Alfred Jaskowik, perished at Neuengamme. Horst Wolfgang Stock, from Germany. Hein Waldvogel, from Poland.
And we intend to intersperse some of the names with some poetry. And then we're blessed and honored, really, to have a speaker today. And she's just arrived, so I don't want to leave her standing here. I'd like to greet Mrs. Elizabeth Deutsch.
Yes.
And may I give you a hug because I feel like I know you.
Yes.
It's so good to see
And
you.
your name?
I'm Steve.
Oh, you
Armato.
Steve.
Yes, I'm
Oh,
Steve.
nice to meet you.
So,
Nice to meet you.
And this is Chelsea Cloud. She's
Nice
the
to
editor
meet
of the
you.
paper.
Yes.
And how was your drive
Very
up?
good, very good. She
You must be the
knows,
best.
she knows her way.
And this is your friend?
That's my friend, Barbara.
Nice to meet you, Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara Toledo, good to meet
Nice to meet you. So if you would like to come and take a seat, we can help you set up. I know you said you have some
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
So-
I have the board here.
I can take care of that. And
Okay.
if you want to have a seat, and
Do I have a little table to put my
there's
books?
yes, we can take care of that too. Yeah. So good to meet you. So we have room here for the books. There's this little stand, or we can put your books here if you'd like. I was picturing you here somewhere. If you want to stand at the
Yeah.
podium, that's fine, or if you want a chair.
Here.
Do you feel like you need a microphone, or we're in a pretty small space, but we're
Thank
good.
you, would be able to hear you.
Okay. All right, so
Expect
let me
more
get.
people?
I think more people are planning to come around 11.
Oh, okay.
Because that's
All
in
right,
your
good.
schedule. So if you
Good.
want to, yeah, if you would like to just have a seat for now.
Yeah,
And
sure.
we'll continue
I'm
with
just
some
gonna
names
put
reading.
my book down.
Yeah, that's perfect. And some of my students in my creative writing class have written poetry inspired by the events. And so we'll have some of them read.
I have one too, and I don't.
I saw you in a video online read your poem. Beautiful, yeah. I'm a fan. So we'll let you get settled and have a
Okay.
seat, and then. Yeah, just watch your step with the wire there. So I think what we'll do now, I'd like to invite one of the student poets up. We have 3 of you here, so Marissa, if you'd like to come on up and read your poem, and then maybe Nicole come up and read your poems, and then we'll do some more names reading, and then Jess, you can read a couple of yours. So we'll step out of the way.
Hello. My poem is called Fire is Free, and I wrote it in memory of Abraham Lewin, who was a Holocaust survivor, and he was born in 1924 and he died in 2002. Flames stretching, slapping the sky, fire can be free, so why can't I? Hunger burns, I hunt in steel jars, the bombs burst and echo, reflecting from the stars. The men in gray bark every demand, but there's fire here, a sign God's in command. It forces them back, there's no water to throw. They have no choice, they must go. The city groans with bursts of light. My head is high, I'll survive this fight. Miles and miles, my journey stretches on. The war is over, we are not gone. I knew he was watching, I knew God would see. Now fire is free, just like me.
Thank you, Marissa.
Hi, my name is Nicole Hayes, and I wrote 2 poems. My first one is, I'll just say the first part, Arsenic, and it's just in response to the Holocaust. A legend, striking the planet from outer space. Golden circles, rich in color, created puddles of gold. 1,945 drops of rain formed deep channels of untold stories, streamed across the earth. Rivers of dreams turned into toxic, black, personalized identity, life reduced to text. And my second poem is titled 30 Minutes Later, also in response to survivors. Imagine seeing your sibling laying in a straight line, a line that you will never view the same again. His solid gray hat covering his ears walking through harsh winter nights. His coat shrunken and damaged by the bullet holes striking his hollow chest. My tears landed in the cavity once filled with my brother's gold star.
Thank you. Welcome, Madam President and Provost Trout. We've started the reading of names, and we're also interspersing some of my students' poetry with that. There's a collection of the poems that we'll make sure that, oh good, you have a copy. And we'd like to invite someone up now, if someone would like to come up and read some names for us. And I mentioned earlier the names are in groups of 20, and we just ask when you finish reading, if you read 5, if you read 20, just make a little mark with the marker so that the next person knows where you left off with reading. So would someone like to come up and read some names? Sharon, thank you. Over here. So we're right at the bottom of the next group.
So, Roman Feldman, let's see where he perished Mungum. Edmund Ujeski perished Nasrallah. Matiana Kameni from Hungary. Jacob Blumenthal perished at Bergen-Belsen. Wolf Willie perished at Natzweiler. Vincent Hedenidi perished at Nuggengaum. Louise Seid from Germany. Moishe Berger from Poland. Charles Vergaard perished at Nuggengaum. Hyman Philip Liefsma from Netherlands. Antoine Voss perished at Nuggengaum. Gesa Goldschmidt from Hungary. Marcin Hertenstern from Slovakia. Hugo Shire from Romania. Josef Weiss from Hungary. Fritz Jacobi perished at Stuttgart. Peter Engels perished at Nuggenheim. Chaim Dankwitz from Poland. Sally Marcus perished at Dachau. Ina Kirschenbaum from Romania. Fritz Willi Schwab from Germany. Israel Mordechai Bester from Romania. Yosef Kotnishak from Lithuania. Stephanie Malashevsky perished at Bergen-Belsen. Abraham Kruger from Poland. Herman Schwartz perished at Bergen-Belsen. Rita Prince perished at Stuttgart. Brett Strauss perished at Stuttgart. Andre Leray from France. Anna Grasel Tiger from Poland. Johannes Clemens perished from Newfoundland. Retzel Wontrop from Poland. Oscar Max perished at Dachau. Albert Weston from France. Gustava Epstein from Poland.
Jess, would you like to come up and share some of your poetry with us?
My poem is called Memory. I did not walk their paths of sickly green, sidestepping fallen limbs, crunching on dead leaves. Nor did I lace up blood-stained boots to give staccato commands, but my feet remember. I have never felt my children torn from me, or my lover's slipping fingertips. Nor have I pulled an ice-cold trigger without a flinch, but my hands remember. My screams did not echo across lonely fields, only to fall on deaf ears, but my mouth remembers. I do not know the pull of ribs across an empty stomach, but my skin remembers. I did not live among the streets of their ghettos, seeing children stealing food just to survive. Nor did I stare into overturned dirt filled with sunken faces, but my eyes remember. I never stood in Hitler's showers, but I felt the sting of tears. I was not there as their numbers dwindled. I cannot imagine how any survived. I did not live their horror, that I will not forget. I cannot forget their stolen history, lost in fires fed by novels, lost in death camps and starvation. I cannot forget plundered wedding rings, heirlooms stolen from cold hands. Families survived by golden blocks and pawn shops. I was not there, but I won't forget.
This poem is in honor of survivor Joseph Mushka Mueller. Staunch the wound with fire, stop the infection spread, crush its hope, slow its growth, lose the hand to save the head. Decimated population, hopeless packages on laden carts. Facing the shower, watching it pour, thick black boots, hunting for more, an unrelenting hunger, feeding on the life of a dying host. Melted gold, poking their heads, the coldest skies, and heartless eyes. Withheld breath, punching heart, tucked in a garden shed. Choking on tears, an overturned earth, watching family ripped away through foggy window panes. Hearing their cries for the fatal last time, lose the hand to save the head.
Would someone like to come up and read some names? Thank you, Daisy.
Just a couple of words. I'm so moved by your poems. So powerful to have the young express the unspeakable, in a sense. And I'm very grateful to Professor Paulato, to Chelsea Cloud, to all of the students from the town and the students in the class. This is a very meaningful event for me. My granddaughters, I have Jewish. I will take your poems. The 11-year-old is writing poetry herself, so I'll take the poems to her. So thank you so very much, and I'm very happy that the family remembers every year. We remember that Professor Paulato has been doing this ever since I was young. Thank you. Roshansky Shahar, Parish and Natswana. Sorby, Germany, Parish and Natswana. Leicestershire, Sultan from Hungary. Berstenshire, Ida from Poland. Fischker, Albertus, Parish and Nottingham. Walstrup, Sarah from Poland. Spat, Hildegard from Germany. Reitman, Fluid from Romania. Novak, Richard, Parish and Dhaka. Polinsek, Joseph, Parish of Bergen-Belsen. Nathan Bernhard, Parish of Dhaka. Rinder Moto from Romania. Mayor Nicholas, Parish of Ansonia. Petrushka Herman, Parish of Dhaka. Lichtenstein Laszlo from Hungary. Nina from Romania. Lucas Toyola, Parish of Bergen-Belsen. Winninger Rivka from Romania. Schaefer Ali from Romania. Roshki Hill from Poland. Sarkowski Stanislav, Parish of Nottingham. Romo Felix, Parish of Dhaka. Winner Lutti from Romania. John Eugene, Parish at Nottingham. Frank Jacob, Parish at Bergen-Belsen.
Another of my students has arrived. Jess, would you like to come up and read one of your poems, or?
Can I have a few more minutes?
Of course.
Thanks.
Of course. I think I'll step in. I have some poems from students who are not able to be here, or at least are not here yet. Today is not our usual class meeting day, so many of them are at work or have other classes or commitments. Richard Bosco is one of the writers for the Tamarack, and he left a poem with us. Remember. Yesterday past, today the present, tomorrow future. 1933, 9 million Jews in Europe. 1945, only 3 million survived. Many Russians, Poles, Roma, socialists, homosexuals, communists, Jehovah's Witnesses, disabled, also perished. mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, children, infants and unborn, all scorched and scorned, experiments performed, savage nature, labor enslaved, wealth stolen, money, gold, silver, paintings, sculptures, china, crystal, silverware, wedding rings, and fillings taken, never to be returned. Holocaust, sacrifice by fire, old word, new pyres. 1944, new word coined, geno, race or tribe, side, Latin, killing. It is genocide. So remember the fallen from yesterday, but also today, for many still fall in Bosnia, Darfur, Iraq, and Rwanda. Many faces, faraway places. Jess, would you like to read a poem? Sure. Save Jess's. I want to choose something to
So this is by a student who also writes for the Tamarack as well. Her name is Alyssa Katz. And it's called Patriotic Frenchman, based on the life of Remy Dumonchel. Born free and a war survivor, healed war wounds and came back a hero. Survived the Germans once, but not twice. Once a man, soon forcibly a serial number. Born free and became a mayor, successful in Avon, this war survivor. Hitler emerged and the Frenchman remained, becoming head of the resistance against the empire. Born free, but died a victim, no longer a survivor, 2 wars too much. Arrested for his efforts to help the fearful, occupying him a spot on the endless list.
And 2 more poems. These are by Melissa Plaza, who is a member of the creative writing class. Desolate. The burnt earth cries, the soil once rich is now poor. For it to live again would mean disrespect, so it dies, just as they did. Memorialized they live, traces of a world unimaginable, carrying stories unfathomable. No identity, they fell as one, they fell as a number, stripped from the outside, hollowed from the inside, shells left on the ground, following the release of the trigger, by man who was everything but all good things must come to end, their end unjustified. And Melissa's second piece is titled Rations. Crumbs at my feet, nutrition, limbs. I deliriously question and search the floor in hopes to sustain my health or to further deteriorate my sanity. I'm one of the 5 left, one feeling divided into 2 as I am now half my weight. Light as a feather, the world weighs on me. Do we have another names reader? Would someone like to come up? Thank you, Jim.
Brandel Zarb from Poland. Hami Ezekiel Zilberstan from Poland. Georges Andriolo from France. Otto Hoffmann, Paris to Dachau. Zipporah Weintraub from Poland. Frederick Skoburn from Germany. Heinrich Petrowski, Paris to Dachau. Sandor Lowy from Hungary. Ludwig Sommer, Paris to Dachau. Abraham Waldvogel from Poland. Leah Waxman from Poland, August Thibault from France, Nanny Kotz, perished at Stutthof, Cecilia Henschel, perished at Bergen-Belsen, Eleonora Gonye, perished at Bergen-Belsen, Sarah Halpers, perished at Bergen-Belsen, Golda Węglinski from Poland, Heinz Lorga, perished at Dachau, Herbert Kaunig, perished at Natzweiler, and Hans Bunzel, perished at Dachau.
Thank you, Jess.
For Menachem and Rivka, thank you for being afraid, for running away when none of your siblings would, for bearing regret and living. Thank you. Thank you for fighting, for surviving the camps while helping who you could, for bearing a daughter, a son, and living. Thank you. Because you lived, children piled shoes on the beach and swam in the Mediterranean. They ate canned pickles and plump dates. Because you lived, couples kissed and rejoiced over broken glass. They mowed lawns and watched babies sleep. Because you lived, the trains on my floor have faces, and my lap was awfully crowded. So thank you. Because of what you almost lost and did, I know what has been gained. And then the second one is just little things. Just little things that seemed peculiar before I understood. Like how much it bothered her to watch the baby Mrs. mouth, the dripping spoon of sin, or how she always served too much and then hardly ate at all, choosing instead to tuck a bit of bread into a napkin and stow it in her apron, her checkered hamster's cheek. For later, she shrugged, my blood sugar now. Then carefully wrapped the unfinished plate, too much to waste. Apples were slipped in pockets as she kissed goodbye, in case you got hungry on the way. And the kitchen smelled of cooking whatever hour you arrived. It was when her sleeve drew back, pouring borscht into my bowl, that I'd recall how deep a scar could be left by banished ink.
Thank you, Jess. And I'll introduce her, Jessica Eller from my Creative Writing Class. Some beautiful poems, thank you. One more person would like to come up and read names, and then we will transition into our speaker. So can I have a volunteer to come up and read some names for us? Marissa, thank you. Right below the green marker. Oh, you can read first name, last name, or last name first, and the location as well.
Mort Gambo from Hungary, Jean Coder from France, Zusa Hascher from Slovakia, Levi Moses Turksma from the Netherlands, Anthony Karash from France, Paul Keys, perished at Grossrosen, George Seidel from Germany, Fridolin Glores, perished at Grossrosen, Herman Grossman from Hungary, Milane Hubert from Hungary, Vladislav Maslivka, perished at Bergen-Belsen, Leah Taschner from Poland, Hubert Seidel from Germany, Peter Gorlo, perished at Grossrosen, Teresa Zatkar, perished at Bergen-Belsen, Regina Verdiger, perished at Bergen-Belsen.
Thank you, Marissa. So again, since the room has filled a bit, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for being here for our event in commemoration of the National Days of Remembrance. The names reading itself is always a very powerful event, and our purpose in doing so is to put the names on these unfathomable numbers of 6 million, of 11 million. When we think of those big numbers, we tend to forget the fact that there are individual lives and families and souls attached to each of those. And so reading the names is a way of sort of rehumanizing these numbers. We are very fortunate, and I used the word blessed earlier when she walked in the door. We're very fortunate to have an individual, really, I'm going to say, from the few times I've spoken to her on the phone and the little bit of kind of looking for her on the internet and seeing some of her presentations at other venues, both an extraordinary, remarkable, and regular person who lived through these events and lived through them beautifully intact, and also, you know, having gone through this experience that most of us just know as a historical event, her life. And so I'm not going to intrude and tell you any of her story, because it is her story and she is here to tell us today. But I'm so pleased and honored to be able to introduce to you Mrs. Elizabeth Deutsch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wherever you would like to go.
Yes.
Just one thing, please. I always bring my sister with me. She was with me, she saved my life, and I'm telling her story also. My name is Elizabeth Deutsch. Actually, my maiden name is Egri. And I was born in Hungary. I came from a place, a very small place. It was only 3,500 people living there. And among that was 700 Jewish people. We had 2 beautiful synagogues. We got along so well with our non-Jewish neighbors, and life was very, very nice before the war broke out. In Germany, in 1930, Hitler came to power. And well, let me tell you this first. I came from a big family, and a religious family. My father was one of the 11 children. My mother was 6, one of 6, from 6. I had aunts, I had uncles, I had cousins, and my father came from Czechoslovakia to marry my mother, And I don't know how it happened, but those days were marriages made. And we had a very, very loving family. I remember growing up, and I'm going to read this for you in memory of my parents. My beloved parents taught me so many things good about life when I was growing up in a small town in Hungary, overtook. They taught me how to be honest, to give great respect to them and others. As a young child, I was taught many responsibilities that I had to share with my beloved older sister Frida and my 3 older brothers, Jene, Adolf, and Meyer. Life was so much different in the 30s and early 40s in our country. My parents made sure that learning and honesty were very important. I came from a very religious family, and that was very important to my parents to believe in God and help others. The short 15 years that I lived with my parents, I will never forget. They give me the foundation of life and strength to survive the Holocaust. My beloved parents were the best and my mentor. My mother was killed in May 1944 at Auschwitz-Birkenau in the gas chamber. My father and brother Jene was killed in December 16, 1944 in Mauthausen in the concentration camp. This I find out later. Well, when the war broke out in 1938, I was a young child. I don't pay too much attention, and life at the beginning was going on as usual. But in 1941 already, we had to wear the Jewish star when we went out from our house, and the yellow star on our coat. And they took all the Jewish young men away from our home, and we didn't know where they were. They even took our father away. And it was so hard for my mother, because home, mostly every family had cows, horses, because that's the way the transportation was, horse and carriage, or wagon, and milk, and chickens. And it was so hard for my poor mother to take care of those things. But luckily they left one of my uncle home because he was not a well man. And he was a great help for us. He was a very smart man. And life was going on, I had a very sick father, and my older sister had to stay with him and take care of him. My grandmother died just 2 years before we were taken away. And we went to school, the beginning. I remember in 1944, March 19th, when the SS men invaded Hungary. We were the last country where they came in. Well, it got to be very, very bad. We had to stay in line for food. Food was rationed. You just got so much. Luckily, we had a very, very big garden, and we grow our own vegetable and our potato, and so that helped us a lot. And not too long after that, just 2 weeks before our Passover, my older brother walked in our home. You could imagine how happy we were to see him. We didn't hear from him for such a long time, and he was alive. He was telling a story. He was in Siberia, and how hard they had to work. And my father was coming home also, and my father was a beautiful tall man with a white beard, smiling eyes. They always used to call him when he was walking on the street, "Here comes the smiling man." But when he came back from the hard labor, he was not smiling anymore. He looked like an old man. He never wanted to tell us what kind of work he had to do. He just kept quiet. In 1944, I remember so vividly, our Passover came so early. End of March already, it was finished. That was a Saturday evening. You know, on Passover we eat matzah. We have no bread in the house. And we had a knock on the door at the evening. I got so scared, I had no idea who is coming. I was hiding under the big dining room table, and of course it was covered up, but it was our Jewish neighbor. And he was telling us that all the Jewish people has to get ready by Monday morning, and you have to go to the synagogue. You could only bring with you what you could carry in your hand. You could imagine that was not too much. Sunday morning, my brother and my older sister, they got up very early and they started to bake some bread. At least we should have some bread with us, because we had no idea where we will go. And that's what they did. Sunday was a very sad day. We were getting ready. My mother told me to put on more than one dress, more than one underwear, and other things, so we don't have to carry in our hand. Our family, I had aunts and cousin. I had cousin was about the same age like me. and the other one was much younger. You know, they were really, some of them little babies. You're gonna see it on the pictures over there. Monday morning came very, very quickly. But Sunday afternoon, from the next town, the Jewish people were walking through our town to go to the railroad station. I was standing out with a pail of water in case somebody would be thirsty. And then I saw my grandmother's brothers and sisters. They were sitting on a wagon, and I could only wave to them. And that was so, so terrible to see. You have no idea, you know. In the evening, we didn't sleep at all Sunday evening. Monday morning, we got up very, very early. I just couldn't go away not to say goodbye to our animals who were in the stable. I had to go and touch every one of them. They were so good to us. Our cows give us milk. I used to love to drink the milk. The chicken give us eggs. The horse took us wherever we had to go. And my father and my family was waiting for me already. My father wanted to bless his children. We were only the three of us home. My older brother who just came back, and my older sister and myself. He blessed us, and we were walking out of our home. You could imagine how painful that was to leave everything in it. Even when I came in a hurry, whatever I could touch, I kissed the prayer book, I touched the windowsill, I touched the furniture, the bed, whatever I could. And I was wondering if I ever gonna see it again. As we were leaving our home, we had a prayer on the door, and we kissed it, and we closed the door. I don't think my parents even bothered to lock the door because they would break it open. And we were walking up to the synagogue with some of the other Jewish people, and a lot of them, they were all there already. Well, everyone was crying, and so we also. And then they made us walk to the railroad station. It was quite a long way to walk, especially for the elderly person. And this was the Hungarian gendarmes who were coming and watching us. They made us go very fast. Then they made us sit down. Then they made us get up very quickly. And the people who couldn't get up quickly, they would hit them. That was not very, very nice. We were sitting in the train. We had no idea where we will go. It stopped in a big city, Sátoralja Újhely, and that were the ghetto. Part of the city was divided where the ghetto will be. And all the Jewish people, you know, they take away the home who owned it over there, people, we were sleeping on the floor. They had no bed, so many beds. Was nothing too much to do there. We find out our grandfather, they put him into the Jewish hospital, and that was also in the ghetto. My sister and I, we would go every single day to visit him and help him and help the other elderly people who were there. That was our job every single day. And we were there a whole month in April. The beginning of May, they started to empty out the ghetto. We had to walk to the railroad station. We didn't see regular train. We saw the cattle cars. We had to get in there. So many in a car, like sardines. We were sitting on the floor. They locked us up. It was dark there. It was no window, just way up on the top with a shutter. And the train started to go. It was going many times. It stopped. We had no idea why. We thought maybe they pick up more people. Then it started off again. We were going. That was a reason for. You see, they had no place to put the new transport who was coming into the camp. Anyway, we arrived on a Thursday midnight. It was dark. They didn't open the door. We heard screaming. We heard doors slamming. We had no idea what it was. Then we smelled the smoke. It came into the cattle car. We still didn't know what it was because we couldn't see nothing. Then my father, he was a tall man, he tried to look out on the crack of that little window, what's going on, if he could see something. He saw the flames coming from a tall chimney and the smoke. When he came down, he said, "We came to hell," and it was hell. Early in the morning, when they opened the door, we see a lot of SS men, German Shepherd dog, men with a striped uniform. We had no idea who they were, but we find out they were the prisoner, and they had to help with the transport. Then the SS man came there hollering, "Schnell, schnell, schnell, hurry, hurry, we have to jump off from the cattle car." The men separately, the women separately. We had two lines, two long lines. Then the selection started. Dr. Mengele, he was a terrible, terrible man, if you studied about him. And he the one who told you're gonna go to the right and you're gonna go to the left. My sister passed, I passed, my Aunt Rose, who escaped from Czechoslovakia and came to live with us because they took her husband away. And she was afraid to stay there. So she stayed with us with her son, and unfortunately she wound up with us. We were standing on the side after we were taken away from our mother, and just looking around, what kind of place is this? Where are we? We saw the flames, we saw the smoke, smelled it, terrible. And then I saw my mother was standing there with her sisters, and I wanted to go with her. And I didn't know this SS man saw me, and I was going to my mother. And he came after me and he pushed me back to the right side. So I thought to myself, if he's not gonna look, I'm gonna try it again. And that's what I did. The second time he came after me, and he was angry. He called me a dirty little Jewish girl, you young, you could work. I had no idea what that meant, but I believe it, that he was not a real SS man, because if he would have been a real SS man, he would never ever save me. I could thank for him, because that's why I am here today. My sister pushed me behind her, and that's where I had to be always. My sister was about 8 years older than me, and she became my mother. And we were waiting the whole day. They were getting us ready. They took us to the sauna. We had to get off our clothes, whatever we bought with us. They cut our hair. We looked terrible, unrecognizable. I was standing next to my sister, and I didn't recognize her. And she did the same. We were hollering each other's name. And after we got a dress, we didn't get the prison dress the same day. We just get any kind of dress. If it fits you good, if not, of course, mine was a little big on me. My sister's was a little tight. And finally, we were so tired already because we had to stay in Zelapel also to be counted. Finally, we got in our block, and they give us some kind of food, but we couldn't even eat it the first time. It was so horrible, you know. Over there, every single soup was black. I don't know what they put in there. And it was a thick soup you could hardly swallow. For breakfast, we get black coffee and black hard bread. A couple of days, about Monday, because it was Friday, Saturday, they didn't seem to do too much. We got our prison dress, it was a gray. And then they tattooed our arm. My number is A6. 61:45. And this meant life for us because we were gonna go to work. And not too long after that, our job was, when the transport were coming in, first of all, we had to march like soldiers, 5 in a row, and on both sides, SS men and German shepherd dog was coming with us. You had no chance to get away. First of all, we had the electric fence around us, and nobody even tried to. Our job was in a warehouse, when the transport were coming in, we had to take everything apart. I don't know how some people, they bought with them why they're bit of big packages. We had to take, even rip the coats, the lining, to see if something was sewing in there. And you'd be surprised what we find over there. We find some money, we find some gold, some silver, and everyone had a place where to put. Well, that was our job till the transport were coming. And let me tell you, a day over there was like a year. We got up 4 o'clock in the morning. We had to stay in Seelapel for hours. Even if it was raining, or the sun was shining, or snowing, or was cold, it didn't make no difference. Mengele came every morning to look us over. And if he saw someone who didn't look good, he would take him out of the line. Well, this was already end of October. No more transport were coming. Our job was to work in a forest. They give us a shovel, and we had to dig ditches. I have no idea for what, but that was our job every single day. I remember one day I wanted to go back to the job so I'd be there on time. I always wanted to be there earlier and later. I thought I'm gonna go the shortcut way to the grass. And I did. I didn't know this SS man was watching from the window. He came out, he calls me back. Why did I step on the grass? I tried to explain, I just wanted to get there on time to my job. Didn't make no difference. He took out his rubber stick. He started to hit my back. I started to run away from him, and he was running after me and hitting me and hitting me. And you people, you have no idea how painful that is. I outrun him. I was at my job. I couldn't open up my mouth. Word would not come out. It was so painful. And after that, I would never ever make it sure I would never step on a grass. One day, we were working there. We heard a big explosive. We had no idea what it was. The siren was blowing. We had to go into the camp very, very quickly and stay 5 in a row in a tail lapel. What we find out, this prisoner who was working in the crematorium, they only worked there for 2 months and they got rid of him also. Their time was up, so they wanted to do something. And this woman, 3 women, was working in a place where they could get to them explosive. And that's how they were able to get rid of one of the crematorium. When everybody was in the camp, they got the 3 women who did that. And we all had to watch. They were hanged, all 3 of them, right in front of us. That was very, 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 very sad to see. Of course, the men were dead also. Nobody got loose. And we still went to do our job in the forest. But in end of November already, they will empty out Auschwitz-Birkenau, what was in Poland. Again, we went into the sauna. They took our prison clothes, dress away. They just give us any kind of clothes. If it was fit, you could. If it's not, it was okay. And they were getting us ready the whole day. And I remember we were naked and we had to go between 2 lines of SS men, and Mengele was on the top. And he looked over every one of us. My sister passed, I passed, our neighbor, my would-be sister-in-law, and my aunt, who was in less of the 5 in a row. Mengele took her out because she had some rash on her stomach, a little rash, and we never saw her again afterwards. We didn't know what happened. The night came, the evening, we were locked into the cattle car again, and we were standing there and we could hear, it was already dark, we could hear the screaming, the slamming the door, we could smell the smoke, and we were kind of wondering if we really gonna go away, or they just told us that we're gonna go to work. Finally, it must have been midnight. I don't know why they were waiting so long. The train started to leave. You have no idea how happy we were. We hugged and kissed each other that we are going away from this terrible place. We arrived in Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen was not a working place. That was another death camp except no crematorium. It was no work, it was no food. We were there and we were praying to God, I hope we don't have to stay here too long. And one day, they were asking for prisoners to volunteer to go to work. We did. We were selected to leave. The next day, we're gonna go. And night before, we were so tired over there because, we didn't get any food, we had nothing to do, and our stomach was so shrunk and always hungry. You have no idea if you don't have a lunch or a breakfast, how painful that is. Finally, when we went to bed, it wasn't really a bed, it was a bunk bed, it was only boards on it. I was always next to my sister, and I must have fallen asleep right away, and as far as I know, my sister was okay. And I had a dream. In my dream, my mother comes and she wakes me up, calls me by my Hebrew name, Esther, wake up, your sister is sick. I jumped up, my sister is not next to me. I got off and she was on the floor and she was fainted. She wanted to go to the latrine. She didn't make it. She was fainting all the time. It must have been because she was so weak and she didn't eat. I tried to wake her up. I was crying. I cleaned her up with cold water. Next day we were gonna go away. What's gonna happen? Anyway, the day came, and when the time came to walk to the cattle car, I saw some grass. I was so hungry. I went and I pulled some grass and I was eating the grass. And I did some for my sister also. Finally, we got locked up again in the cattle car. And we were so happy to get away from there, because the typhus broke out there and they had so much dead bodies like a mountain. And they didn't seem to do anything with them. And when they locked us up and we prayed to God, we should go in a better place. Finally, when they lock you up, the train doesn't leave right away. Finally, the train started to move. We were so happy to get away from there. It came to a place called Braunschweig. Well, Bergen-Belsen was in Germany already, and Braunschweig also was in Germany. And that was not a camp, that was a bomb city. They took us over there to clean up the city. Our home was a stable. It was winter time. It had concrete floor, it had hay on it, and that was our bed to sleep on at night. The first night when we were sleeping there, all of us got full of lice, but we couldn't get rid of it. In the morning, they give us a shovel and they make us go in and shovel the rubbles. Really, this was winter. They thought maybe we're gonna froze to death and they're gonna get rid of us that way. And that's what we were. We were not dressed for the winter. And we've been doing that for a month. We were so hungry all the time. I remember a friend of mine and myself, we saw a house standing and we thought we're gonna go down to the cellar and see if we could find some food. And we found some potato, and the potato was black. And it was baked from the fire. And we were eating that potato, and you can imagine that was the most delicious potato I ever eat. We bought up for my sister also, and she did too. And one day it was a siren, so we had to, the siren was blowing, so we had to hide. Probably the Allies were coming over our head, and we had to hide, so we went into a house where there just the four walls standing. And because of the airplane and the shooting, the wall started to sway. And I thought it's gonna fall on us and we're gonna be all dead over there. I wanted to run out. My sister got a hold of me so tight. I couldn't go no place. If I would have gone out, the assessment probably would shoot me. And when it was over, we went out and did our job again. Well, it was time to leave again. The Allies were coming, they were moving us. We didn't finish to clean up the city at all. And then they took us to a place called Bendorf. That was a camp, that was in Germany. In the morning, we were marching to work. We stopped in front of a big, big mountain. We were wondering what we're gonna do here. We saw a door. The door opened up. It was a big room, and it was a fake elevator in it. They pushed us in. I don't know how many times, it was coming down. And it was going down and down and down, and they opened up the door. We couldn't go any further. When we stepped out, it was a salt mine. It was a tunnel what we had to go through. The German assessment didn't come with us. They told us just go ahead. There was no other place to go. It was very, very hard because when you breathe in the salt, you get swollen up. Our walk was very long. The other side, when we couldn't go no more any place, we saw a door. It opened up. The assessment was there. They took us into a factory, a Munizio factory. You never saw anything like it. German people were working there, but they were going in the regular way, not through the mine like we did. And they showed us what to do on the guns and the bullets. So we were there for a while, till again the Allies were coming. Some of the camps already was liberated. Of course, we didn't know. And this must have been already in middle of April. And we again had to get into the cattle car. And we stopped in another camp to pick up some more prisoners. And then in another camp to pick up more prisoners. At this time, it was no way to get out. It was no place to go. We were locked up there. The train was going. Many times we felt it was going back and forth because they didn't have no place to take us anymore. We were riding almost 2 weeks without food. Many girls died right in front of us. And one day it stopped in a forest, the Buchenwald forest. The camp already was liberated April 19, and they were still holding on to us. They made us go out from the cattle car. They made us 5 in a row. That was a big field over there. They made us lay down on the ground. The machine gun was all around us with the German shepherd dogs. And the airplanes, the Allies, were over our head. The sky was black from the airplanes, and we heard shooting. And the SS men decided, we saw them running away with their dogs. And they left the machine guns right there. They didn't bother to take it with them. And then we were all alone. Not too long. We heard truckloads of people were coming. Soldiers were coming with Red Cross. That was the International Red Cross soldiers who liberated us. And they came to us and they told us the war was over. And that was May 2nd, 1945. And I call this a miracle. The last minute we got freed. My sister even told me, say the prayers after me because we will be dead. I was hugging her. I was so scared. I was so shaken. Our first meal they brought to us, just a little bread, the good bread, a little sugar, and a little water. Our stomach was so strong. If you would eat a big meal, you would be dead. We were skin and bone. They cleaned out the cattle cars, the soldiers, and they just let in so many people. And they took us to a radio station where they put us into a regular train, and they took us to Denmark. We were there for 2 days, and then they put us into a beautiful boat, Swedish boat, and the Swedish government took us in. And you can imagine how we felt when we arrived in Sweden. The first thing it was throw away our dirty clothes. They cleaned us up from the lice. The doctor looked us over. We were in quarantine for 6 weeks. Nobody could come near us. And the Swedish people, they were so nice. They throw things in the yard, candy and whatever, you know. And after 6 weeks, again, I was separated from my sister. She was older. The older girls were in different place, and the younger ones had to go to school. We went up near Stockholm, and my sister's group went someplace else, and they got us a Hungarian teacher, and of course, you know, we had to learn the Swedish language, and we had our daily everything they taught us to do. And we were in the school about a year and a half, and a lot of girls went back to Hungary, or they came here to the United States. And I told my sister she should come up. We were near Stockholm. Come up here where I am, and we're gonna stay here near Stockholm. We have more opportunity to be in the, you know, near the big city. And she did. And then naturally we had to go to work. And I remember we find a dress shop, and this man who had the shop had apartment houses, and who was working there and wanted to rent a place, you could do that. So we shared an apartment with a Polish survivors couple, and we had a big room, 3 girls, my sister and one of our relatives, and the Polish couple had a room for themselves, and we shared the kitchen and the bathroom. It was okay. We were working, and my sister knew I wanted to be a hairdresser, and so she was telling me she gonna work, I should go to school and learn the trade. And that's what I did. I went in every morning to Stockholm and to the hairdressing school, and I learned the trade, and I got my license, and I could work in a beauty salon. My boss was so nice, and we lived there for 5 years in Sweden. The main time we find our relatives here in America, and we find one of the brother alive through the Red Cross also. And he went back to Hungary. He didn't find nobody except his girlfriend, so they got married. And they wanted him to go into the Hungarian army, and he didn't want to do it. So they went to Italy, and they stayed there for about a year, and then they went to Palestine, and they went on a boat, my goodness, that was a famous boat, but it was sketched. So he didn't wind up in Palestine, he wind up in Cyprus, and the wife in, the Exodus boat. And so we couldn't get in touch till after the war again, till he came to Israel. And we stayed there for 5 years. And finally, he wanted us to go there so badly, so we would be together, only the 3 of us survived from our big family. And we already decided, but then everybody said, no, you better go to the United States, from there you could go all over, So that's what we did, and we got our photo in December in 1949. So we came here in 1950 in March. We had to start a new life. It was not easy, and go to work again. I thought I'd be able to work in my trade, but I wasn't. I had to go to school again so I could get my license. What I did, I worked in a sewing factory during the day, and night I went to the night school, the beauty school, you had to put in so many hours. And my job was easy to do in the beauty shop. As a matter of fact, I had so many customers over there because they didn't have the students, because I was a real hairdresser already and I know my work. And I never forget this lady. She had 2 daughters, and it was Christmas time, and she bought present to them, I still have it today. I should have worn it. And she bought a beautiful necklace, and one was white with white stone, one was pink, and one was blue. And she showed me all 3 of us, and she let me choose which one I wanted it, So I picked the white one. I thought it would wear that with everything. It's a heart. It was a heart. So beautiful. And the other Christmas, she gave me an earring. She was so, so nice. She should rest in peace wherever she is. And if you have any, I would like to read, I wrote a poem. We were very, very close with my sister, even home, I always hang on with all her friends. And after she passed away, I felt so bad. I was the only one who survived. I have 2 cousins, but they both of them are not well, from our big family. And my heart was so full of pain, and one day I just had to sit down and write and get it out of me, because I didn't know what to do with myself many times, because we used to talk on the phone every single day. And when he was sick, every weekend, in the Friday afternoon, I would take off from work and go to New Jersey and lay with her. And I just miss her so much, even today. So I wrote this poem, Wounds That Never Heal. It is not easy to uncovered wounds that never heal. How could I forget the Holocaust? It has been over, when I wrote this, it has been over 50 years since my family was killed in Auschwitz-Birkenau. But I remember as it was today. The gas chamber, the tall chimneys, the burning flames, the unbearable smell and the scream and the death of silence. The deep blue sky was always gray from smoke. The days were dark and long. The nights were bright from the tall orange flames. What a place to be, with the electric fence around us, to see little children cry, the little shoes, the dresses, and the dolls thrown around. Oh my God, what a sight. I wonder how I survived. We looked around for God, we yelled, where are you? Please save us, we begged. Our God, whom we trusted, was not there. We soon find out what hell we had come to. When Mengele came to look us over with his white gloves and the bayonet pointing at us, who shall live and who shall die? There was no time to say goodbye to mother or father or brother or my family. My beloved sister and I were pushed away from them. That's why I am here today. I hope that my story is not too strong to hear. I believe perhaps I survived so I could tell my story, but I endured during the Holocaust. The world has to know what happened to us, the Jewish people. All our heritage was destroyed in Europe. The synagogue, the Torahs, the prayer books, all went up in flames. There was no one to help us. Please remember the valley of blood that flowed like water, the blood of parents and children, mothers and infants, teachers and students, and the cry of Shema Yisrael that the victim screamed as they were taken to their death should not be silenced. It should reach your heart and you should remember. I would like to thank you so much for every one of you to listen to my story, and you have any question, I'm ready to answer anything. I see I made you cry. I'm sorry.
Any questions? I think we're awed by your story and your ability to tell it so powerfully. And we certainly thank you for coming.
It's all up here, something that you could never ever forget, you know? Never. And you should remember also. And you young people, when you get married, tell your children, tell your grandchildren what you hear. Yes. I'd like to thank you again so much.
We thank you.
And thank you.
We have something for you. Chelsea and I would like to. So we wanted to leave you with something to remember your visit.
So nice.
So there's a little inscription. It says, "In gratitude, the Tamarack, Overtook Valley, and today's date."
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll bring that to your conference.
Yes, thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions? Or? Well, we certainly thank you and we appreciate you coming today.
Did anyone here saw or heard a Holocaust survivor to talk?
No.
You're the first one.
My student who read a couple of her poems and then had to leave, her family lost family members, and so a member of her family was a survivor. So she had that personal connection. And, those powerful poems, and your poem was just so,
Well,
yeah.
that's why my heart was so thankful. Yes.
I want to say that as a young girl raising our family, before we bought our home, we were the tenant of a Hungarian immigrant who also had an umbrella in her arm. And she and I would often have coffee or tea together, either in my apartment or in hers, and she would talk about it. So it brought a lot of memories with those conversations. She's passed since. So thank you so much.
The president of the college said that as a young person, she lived in an apartment building with a Hungarian survivor,
Oh.
and that the woman shared many of the stories. They would have coffee or tea together, and and she said that your talk and your presence here at the college brought back so many of those
Oh,
memories
really?
for her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What has your ordeal taught you about human nature and the nature of good and evil in the world?
What has your ordeal, what you went through, taught you about human nature and good and evil in the world? That's kind of a big question.
Oh, yes, it is. I don't really know how to answer that, but, could you explain it to me a little bit?
I think, having gone through a time in your life where you witnessed the absolute worst that people can
Yes.
see, how do you go on from that?
Well, I tell you, in 1981, where I was in Israel with my sister, that it was the very, very first Holocaust gathering from all over the world. And we over there, especially on the last day, we spent 4 days together. It was, I will never ever forget that gathering. And the person and the president that time, they all spoke. And they all asked the survivors, when you go back to your country, please go to school, tell the children, tell your neighbor, tell everybody what you went through and the Jewish people. Because before that, I never talked about it. I thought people were not interested to listen. And when I came back, I was like reborn, my heart opened up and I said, I gotta do it. And that's when I started to do it. We were invited to school, high school. I was in Ansonia last year before. I was in Milford. I was in Underwood High School,
Fairfield University.
Fairfield University. I was there also. And that was long time ago. And I met her, oh my God, what's her name? Last night, you know, it was in the first church, the Remembering Day, and she said, we're gonna have to invite you again.
Well, that's
Because
okay.
they have new people and
Yeah.
everything. So then I started to do this, you know, and so people should remember, the children, the students who learned about the Holocaust, they want to know more. They were telling me they read books, they see films, but it's not the same when you talk to a survivor who was there and went through what I did also. So that's the best I could
You've done
explain it to
beautifully.
you know?
Yes. Any other questions? You brought your book, and you
Oh,
mentioned
I
your book.
forgot
Yeah.
to tell you about this. This is the Auschwitz album. We didn't know when we were coming or transport in Auschwitz-Birkenau, this SS man was taking pictures. And in 1981, even when we went to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum over there, all these pictures, what's in this book, it's in there. No, they playing it every single day. My daughter was there last year, and he saw it. And as I was looking, my niece, my sister's daughter, was working in New York, and she got a hold of this book. She took it home, and she looked every page over. And when he came to this picture here, where we are, she started to scream, here is my mother, here is my aunt. My sister called me, it was 10 o'clock at night, and she says, we are in the Auschwitz album. I said, I can't believe it. And then it seems like he followed. Here is Burr, here is cut off. Here is my mother and your two sisters and my cousins. Here is my father, my cousin, my brother who just came back from the labor camp. I call this my book, and usually I carry it with me wherever I go to talk. And I have, if you want to see it closer, also, I just want to show you this one here. This picture here, how fast the selection was. Here is Mengele. These people already is going into the gas chamber on the dock. That's how fast it was. In Auschwitz-Birkenau, the crematorium was redesigned many, many times because they didn't work fast enough. When we were, here is my sister, and I'm right behind her. With my blonde, I had blonde, long hair with two braids, you know, when I came into the camp. And here, you can't even recognize us. Everybody is bald. We were unrecognizable. It was just unreal. Like here is my sister, and you could only see my head.
Beautiful.
You what?
Your sister is beautiful.
Yeah, she really. And then I find my mother. My mother is here, is holding my little cousin. She was so sweet. Could you imagine to locked up in that cattle car for a week to ride to Auschwitz-Birkenau? It's unreal, you know? And so this is the picture I have. That's my brother with her little girl. This is the girl who adopted me. And this is my sister, here, both of us. That's my aunt with the 2 children. And this here is from the book. I don't have too many. My uncle went back. He survived. He went back. And he found a few pictures. But I have a, room, not too much. But it says on the bottom here, I believe I survived, that I could tell my story, what I endured during the Holocaust. The world has to know what happened to us, the Jewish people. This girl adopted me. And I'm not going to be here already. And the 100th anniversary, she's the one who's going to tell my story. And all these pictures was last night in the first church because they have more, a survivor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank you again. I would really thank you again so much to come and to listen to my story. And I hope you're going to take it with you and you will remember. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.